So is the government developing cold feet about the Nuclear Liability Bill? Is the Nuclear Liability Bill becoming a political liability for the government in more ways than one? Let's get straight into our debate. Let me start with Abhishek Singhvi. Mr. Singhvi, a very curious question and one legitimately raised by the opposition today. If the government planned to introduce the bill, what happened at the last moment? Why did you suddenly develop cold feet?
Well, I totally disagree that there is any case of cold feet, or as some others put it, linked to the Women's Reservation Bill. The timing, the manner of introduction of a bill, the postponement of introduction of a bill is a common practice, or at least not an uncommon practice in Parliament. It is done frequently. Now, in this case, it's entirely possible that certain other inputs, certain other discussions were required, and that's about it. It doesn't mean, A, that the government is in any manner less than dead serious about passing this piece of legislation, or B, that we are going to have a completely radically modified version. Yes, any constructive input with constructive suggestions can always be looked at.
But Abhishek, that still begs the question that if objections were there, and you've known this for a week, we've all known for a week what the objections of the BJP and the left are, why was the bill scheduled for this morning?
No, as I said, the practice of scheduling a bill, the scheduling of a bill is done a little earlier. Scheduling of a bill and not necessarily introducing it are two different things. It could be for 100 reasons. I mean, in this case, it is entirely possible that within our own system, we wanted more discussions. And since it had already been listed, the correct way to do it is simply postpone it. It's not been withdrawn, it's not been given up, and I think it may lead to a more easy, more informed discussion and a more solid backing if all aspects of it are discussed, if somebody has raised legitimate questions.
Okay, some would say it's bad floor management again, but I'll come back to you on that. Let me go across to Yashwant Sinha now. Yashwant Sinha, the BJP and the left did not want this bill to be introduced in its present form. Now that's exactly what the government has done. You're still criticizing them. Shouldn't this be exactly what you wanted? You didn't want this bill in this present form.
We did not create any fuss about the bill not being introduced. In fact, we regarded this as our victory, that we raised objections to the introduction of the bill, and the government beat a hasty retreat and decided to postpone that introduction. The only thing that we wanted the government to do was to explain to the House why they were withdrawing the bill. Because once a bill is listed, any business is listed in the order paper of the House, and any change takes place, then it's the government's responsibility to take the House into confidence and say why they are doing what they are doing. This was a short point that Mr. Advani made, to which the government responded by saying that we are not obliged to give the reasons. While, let me tell you that privately they had come to us and told us what the reasons were.
All right, privately they had come to you and told you what the reasons were. We wish you could share that private conversation. Yashwant Sinha, if I may come to you and then come to Soli Surabji after that, on the provisions of the bill itself, what is the precise objection? Because the government is arguing that currently, actually, if there were to be a nuclear accident, there is no insurance at all, that there is no liability at all. And with this bill, it is trying to fix some liability, and the liability it is fixed actually compares with international standards.
You see, all the nuclear installations today are either in the public sector, 100% controlled by the government, like the Nuclear Power Corporation, or they are run departmentally by the government itself. Now, I know this, that the government does not insure its motor vehicles. Why doesn't the government insure its motor vehicles? Because the government's sovereignty is backing that motor vehicle, the operation of that motor vehicle, and if any accident were to take place, they are not running away from liability. The government will assume that liability. So this is the principle which applies to all government business, including the nuclear business. So there is no question of transferring liability to the supplier or to the operator. It is on the Government of India or on its public sector corporation.
Tuba.com